All right. Well, welcome back to another episode of the T&T Podcast. As always, it's your boy, Tyler Layfield, joined by my co-host, Torres Finney. Torres, how's it going, man?
What's up, Tyler, man? Happy to be here once again. Let's do it, baby. Another week, another good week in college football. And, man, this past weekend was a lot of really good games, few upsets. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I was able to catch a good bit. And, of course, my eyes were on those two main SEC matchups, the doubleheader that was on CBS. That's really where my attention was for a majority of the day. But I did try to keep tabs with the other games going on throughout the day. I was able to touch base with a few of them, but maybe you can go into depth on a couple of them here. So I guess I don't know, is there any MMA stuff? I know I talked to Dad today. I went and saw him. He told me, he was kind of excited about Derek Lewis. But he said that one ended up being a little bit of a snooze fest. So I don't know. Was there any real takeaways from last night's fights?
I didn't watch too many of them. I only watched the main event. My one of my favorite fighters currently actually in the UFC is Jalton Almeida. Phenomenal, man. He takes these guys down and he puts them out quick. I mean, he subs guys quick. He has like 5 first-round finishes in the UFC already. So, this was his 6th overall fight, and it went a little bit differently than most people expected. He went in there, he took down Derek Lewis, and he got to mount and didn't throw anything. It was one of the worst. Like, if anybody that's understands MMA, when you get to mount, that's one of the most dominant positions. Then the next dominant position is belly down. That is the most dominant position, belly down. This guy got to mount probably more than I've ever seen a fighter in history, and he didn't finish. Because he wouldn't throw anything. He would
Yeah.
just sit there. He was trying to force submissions, and it wasn't working. And they would just sit there, and nothing would happen. It was so weird. It was so weird. But you know, sometimes some guys got to learn on the job. So it was different.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't able to really catch any of them. You know where my mind was, so that's where I was, and then I went to sleep. Got me a little extra hour of sleep here with this daylight savings. So let's dive right on in, man. Missouri versus Georgia. It's the game. One of the big ones that we were already looking at. Whoever wins this one controls the East, and we knew the ramifications of it. My eyes were glued to this one the whole entire time. Obviously for obvious reasons, and I'm a Georgia fan, but I feel like even if you're just a big college football fan, then you should have been kind of keeping tabs on this one. But pretty good game we had here. It's not, I mean, going into the game, I know a lot of people are thinking whoever ends up winning this one will end up pulling away and winning by 10 plus. I know that's at least what a lot of people I kept up with have been saying. Even my buddy that put me on Mizzou for this year, Craig, he was saying, he felt good. He felt good about his team's chances. We had texted before the game, and he felt good. I said I felt good. He's like, whoever wins this, I think is going to win by 10 or more. Sure enough, it didn't end up that way. Georgia did come out and win 30-21. Carson Beck had yet another good game, 254 yards, passing with 2 touchdowns. Had another 9 yards rushing, nothing crazy on that. But just an overall good display of him passing once again offensively. You look at this team in that facet. He spread the ball around. You got Ladd going. Ladd looked like a monster. McConkey, Ra Thomas had a couple plays. Oscar Delp, Dominic Lovett had him a nice touchdown. Delp's actually really stepped up while Brock has been gone, and that's something I didn't quite expect to step up to that level. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not like exactly what Brock is for us, but up to that point, he had just been making like little mental errors, and I don't know, it was getting a little hard sometimes to kind of put up with him at times, but he's made some pretty good plays. Marcus Roseman Jackson, he only ended up having 1 catch, but obviously he does a lot in the blocking. Defensively, did decent. It didn't feel, somebody ended up bringing something up later on. I think it was on one of the boards I keep up with, but it felt like it wasn't that great of a defensive game for us. Like it felt like we were giving up a ton of stuff, and we were really letting Brady Cook just run all over us, and he was finding success. But when you look at it, he was only 14 of 30 passing, 212 yards, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. So he really didn't have a great game at all. His QBR, this was the worst QBR he's had all season in a game. So Georgia was able to play pretty good defense against him, it seems like. Really big thing here though was the trenches. I mean, I felt like we struggled in that facet. Cody Schrader, to his credit, ran really great for them. Running back from Missouri, it was hard to stop him. He runs so hard. He reminds me a little bit, Torres, of Isaiah Pacheco, the Kansas City Chiefs. You know, not the biggest, not the strongest, I guess, out of them, but he just runs hard. I feel like he just runs behind his pads real hard, and he was giving us problems. Luther Burden, got to give us credit on that. We kept him pretty bottled up. Three catches, 53 yards, a touchdown, but when we matched him up with Kamari Lassiter put on the clamps. That's the first time I've seen him actually play like the nickel, you know, playing the slot, and he put on a show. Julian Humphrey, shout out to him. He had a pretty good day at the corner. Dalen Everett, dude, did you watch him those last couple that last drive down the field from Missouri?
I didn't get a chance to see that part. No, I was only able to see the highlights.
Man,
Didn't see the game. I game, so I was trying to
Man.
keep updates on my phone.
That's
definitely.
right. You were at the game, at the UTC game. Really, what ended up happening? They were driving down the field. Missouri was. They were trying to stay in it. You know, they were down 9. Obviously, they wanted to get down the field, try to go for a touchdown. They would get to these points. They got to one point. It was a fourth down, and they had to go for it. And the center snapped the ball before the QB was even ready. The QB just threw it up for lobs to Theo Weiss, who was guarded by Dalen Everett. Dalen Everett's just nowhere looking for the ball. He catches it. Literally the next set of downs, the same thing happens. The center snaps it before the QB's ready, does the same exact thing, just a lob, just to try to do something, and he catches it on him again. It was pretty irritating. But the other redshirt freshman, Julian Humphrey, had a good day. So we saw some people, you know, do some things. We'll get into it here in a minute when we talk about another team in our future, the future possible SEC championship game. But we did have our struggles on the in the trenches, and that's something that concerns me just a tad. I know Carson's been playing really good, but we can't let pressure get to him if we're going to be successful. They were getting pressure to him early, and it was really causing him to make some mistakes, like not obviously throwing interceptions, but just errant throws that weren't getting there on time. He was rushing them, that kind of thing. He was anticipating getting hit. But overall, good win, man. You can't complain when it's an SEC win, and especially when it's against the number 12 team in the nation. All credit to Missouri. They're actually a really good team. Who are they playing this weekend? They're playing who was it I was looking at? They are playing Tennessee. So that's at Missouri. We need them to win. We need them to win so we can it makes it that much easier for us to lock up the East, and if we can. But that's a big one. Out of your highlights, did you notice anything?
You know, from watching Georgia, I definitely saw a lot more, the ball being spread out a lot more evenly. Obviously, I saw some really good things from Kendall Milton. I know he scored. How many times did he score yesterday? He scored twice.
Let's see here. He had one score.
One score. Okay.
It was he ran pretty good. I mean, this is one of the best games when he's healthy, he can actually run. It's just when he's healthy. That's the key to it.
So from what I've seen, I mean, obviously only the big plays in that fashion, but it looked like Georgia was playing really good and was allowing themselves to finally, you know, settle down. I told people this the moment Brock Bowers got hurt. I said they will play their best football because they're no longer 100% dependent on one weapon on offense. Carson Beck will not be back there like, man, where's Brock Bowers? Let me force the ball to him. You know, it really reminded me so well about when he drove the ball down the field against Auburn. He targeted Brock Bowers 5 times on that final drive. Granted, they got him to the end zone. They won the game.
Yeah.
But 5 times. Now, in these big games, once again, he's going to have another one this upcoming week. It allows for him to distribute the ball evenly and be trust into his teammate, trust into his players, you know. I don't see too much Mike Bobo talk now, you know, because I think our offense is settling in. You know, I think we're settling in. I'm still a little skeptical on our defense sometimes. I feel like we give up plays here and there, but we're a bend don't break defense. We're a defense that, you know, I can't necessarily compare it to the defense of old, but we're a defense that, like, okay, we'll give you a few pop plays here and there, but when it becomes crucial, we'll settle down, and we'll hunker down and get it done. I like what Georgia's doing there, man. I like what they're bringing to the table. I like a lot of the things that they're doing and stepping up in that regards, both offensively and defensively. I know, like, down the stretch, this is our down the stretch. We said it last week. These next 3 games, heck, you can throw Tech in there if you want to. is going to really show, all right, what we're made of. And heck, if you want to actually think about it, I actually like the way our schedule has been formatted. I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, we've been given some little bit cupcake games early on, which is good. It allows you to figure out, okay, what's good, what's not good. I can make mistakes and still win by 40, 30 to 40 points. Okay, that's fine. Now we're playing 3 ranked teams back to back in a row. Now we're about to actually see, all right, how good are we? How good are we really? And I think Missouri's that good of a team, man. You got to remember, Missouri beat LSU by 10. Missouri has pinned it on everybody. I mean, heck, Kansas State was ranked. Missouri beat Kansas State. Missouri, heck, they only got 1 loss, so they had 2 losses, right? They got 2 losses.
Kansas State or Missouri. Now this is their second loss.
Oh, this is their second loss. Okay.
Yes. No, the first one was to LSU.
Yeah, they only lost to LSU. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, that's what I'm saying. Missouri has been right there amongst the best, and they played a really solid season. I like the game we played, man. I'm glad that we won. We won decisively. It was a little close here at the end, but we got the job done. So I'm excited for what Georgia got going on in the future. I do think we're one of the top 4 teams in the country.
Yeah, I feel that way too. Obviously, there was some things that still have. I mean, we still haven't seen Mims come back. We still haven't seen Bowers. From everything I'm hearing, Torres, I think we might see Bowers back next week against Ole Miss. I really am.
And be honest with you, I wouldn't want him back next week. I want him to get as healthy as possible.
It is what it is. If he wants to, I'm not going to stop him. But people are saying that he's already sprinting, he's already running around, he's already moving well. At the end of the day, it comes down to him, I guess. If he wants to end up doing it, then shoot, maybe we end up letting him do it. If not, then I don't know. But Mims coming back will be huge. Truss got kind of beat out on a couple things yesterday, so it wasn't the best in the world. When that happened. But let's see here. I was trying to think of one more thing. Oh yeah, and then with Julian Humphrey coming in, I think he's earned himself a starting spot on defense for right now. At least that's what I think. And the other thing, Jamon Dumas Johnson, one of our veteran linebackers, he broke his forearm yesterday. He had a fractured forearm, so it will suck missing him. I do think we can recover them. As far as talent level goes, I wouldn't say he's the most talented, linebacker we have, but you can't replace that kind of veteran leadership that he brought to the table. So we'll see how that kind of affects us. I think it won't really affect us so much in the near future going against Ole Miss. It might affect us against Tennessee since they are more of a run team this year than a pass team. He was really a good run stopper, not very much some coverage. So we'll see how it affects us, but something to keep an eye on. All right, let's look at an upset that happened, or the upset that about happened, better yet. Kansas State pushed Texas to the brinks this past week. Were you able to catch any of this? That's number 23, Kansas State, going against number 7, Texas.
No, I was.
That was another early one.
But Texas did have a start early. I mean, they started out hot early, man.
Yeah, they did.
Like, man,
I thought it was game already. That's why I wasn't even watching. I was like, this isn't going to even be a game.
I'm about to say, dog. And then turnovers started to happen, and Kansas State got momentum. And, boy, took the game to overtime. Obviously, Texas kicked the field goal, and had played some really good defense in overtime. But, man, Texas, this game here about threw out the entire Big 12 out the college football playoffs.
Yeah.
Because eventually we'll get to Oklahoma. But, man, that about threw them all out. And, Texas is their last hope, man. Texas is literally their last hope. And it was tight, man. And all Texas destiny is in their own hands. All you got to do is win out, And I think they got a very favorable schedule coming up. Do you know who that final 2 games are? Obviously, I know the third one.
So I'm pulling it up now. I remember we had looked at it, and you'd already been highlighting this. You were like, if they could just get past Kansas State, the rest of it is cake. It is TCU, Iowa State, and Texas Tech, all 3 unranked teams.
They should handle business. They might have a little rough time probably with maybe Iowa State. You know how that is. But besides that, I just think everybody else, they just run shop on. I think they run shop on Iowa State too. So, but Texas got a very favorable schedule. They should run shop. Obviously, most people thought it would be Oklahoma They'll be playing in the Big 12 championship. That might not be happening now.
No.
Depending on what happens in the Big 12 championship. I think who's right there? Oklahoma State. Is Oklahoma State right there
So right
above?
now, let's take a look at Big 12. Big 12, I'll pull it up here and I'll read you this out. It is looking like the standings are Texas, Oklahoma State. Both of them are right there. They're both 5-1.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got Kansas and Oklahoma, and Kansas beat Oklahoma, correct?
Yeah, Kansas did beat Oklahoma.
So
yes.
they have the tiebreaker right there, and then it's Kansas State. So and then West Virginia and Iowa
so it
State.
looked like it's gonna be. It looked like it's gonna probably be Texas, Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma State got one more tough game. I could be wrong. I think I saw they had one more tough game, but entirely, I think Texas might have a very favorable schedule. You know, and look, if you're gonna lose any game, I mean, look, they lost one of their big rivalry games, literally on one of the last plays of the game. It came down to the final drive, so I don't necessarily think it hurts them in that regards. All you got to do is win out, and you're in.
They got one more tough game, like you said, and you can call it tough, you can call it whatever, but this team has pushed other teams to the brink, and that's UCF. This coming up week, they have Oklahoma State is going to UCF to play UCF, and UCF has put some scares on some folks. Then they got Houston and BYU, so they should win those. But as we've found out in the past, and Big 12 teams last year, they can drop them. So yeah, let's take a look. And the reason we're going over this is just to kind of give us a little heads up on the the picks we pick in a little bit. But Texas A&M, Ole Miss. Looking at the box score here right now. Jackson Dart had 387 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Judkins ran for 102 yards and 3 touchdowns. So it looks like they relied on the run game a good bit, even though Texas A&M has a pretty stout run defense. And then the receiving wise, it all pretty much came from one guy, and that's Trey Harris. 11 catches, 213 yards, and a touchdown. So pretty good. This one did come down to the wire. Obviously, only winning by 3 points. And if A&M is putting up 35 points on you, no offense to you, but that defense ain't too great because A&M has looked pretty piss poor offensively this year, if I might say so myself. Haven't really cared for what I've seen offensively from them. But the main reason I'm looking at this because Ole Miss, they're playing a big game this week, and we're going to be previewing that here in a little bit, but them versus Georgia. So it's something to keep an eye on. If they're letting A&M score on them, I think we should be able to score on them. Now, defensively, obviously, it looks like we're going to have to do something against Judkins because he runs pretty good, and Trey Harris. And I think Trey Harris might be getting the Kamari Lassiter treatment this week, if I had to say so myself. Haven't seen Kirby. So Kirby, it was something interesting, and I hate to take this Ole Miss A&M to this conversation, but just to digress a second here, we've only seen Kirby move a corner around and shadow wide receivers one time. And can you guess that corner's name? It was very early here. Let's see if Torres. Here's a trivia. Let's see who this was.
Was it?
There was one corner that we've had in Kirby's era here at UGA that he let go around and actually shadow. He would let that corner follow that man around the field. Normally he has a guy on the left and a guy on the right. This time he let this one guy do it. Can you name that guy?
I think I know the player. I cannot think of his freaking name. He caught the pick in the national championship, right? Was it him? No.
This guy didn't win the national championship. He won the Jim Thorpe Award, though.
That's back in 2017. Oh,
do we need help? Do we need a little hint?
I know exactly. I can't think of his name though. I know you're talking
DeAndre
Baker.
Yep. That's it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Let in. That was very early Kirby Smart era at UGA, but we saw a little glimpse of that. They game planned, and we haven't seen it since then. But moving Kamari Lassiter and saying, hey, you're going to guard the slot because this is where Luther Burden's going to operate out of, that's the closest thing we've seen to shadowing since DeAndre Baker. Could we see that again with Trey Harris this week? I don't know. We'll get into that, I guess, more here in a second. But is there any take? Go ahead.
I said he's explosive, man. He can come over over the top. I mean, they're the Ole Miss got an offense,
Yeah, he made like a sick one-handed catch too. That was real big this week. So, did you notice anything? I know you may not have been able to tune in, but were you able to maybe catch any highlights? Look at the stats of this one at all? Or did anything stick out to you in this one?
I was able to look at some of the stats. I agree with you, man. Seeing Texas A&M score 35 points on Ole Miss, actually was a little bit more of like, okay, I feel like we're going to do something. Obviously we'll get to the Ole Miss and Georgia predictions eventually, but it gives me a lot more confidence. Ole Miss wasn't able to, Ole Miss has been able to score on every team they played except for one. Obviously, that was Alabama, and they was able to score at will almost on Texas A&M. Man, it was a very high scoring game. Obviously, it came down to the wire, but I think I like what they're doing. I like what Ole Miss is doing at there. So it's gonna be interesting, man. And look, it's big. Can't wait to see the college football playoff rankings because heck, Ole Miss could be pushed up potentially, with some of these upsets like Oklahoma being upsetted. So we
Yeah.
could see Ole Miss pushed up even more. But hey, the more Ole Miss win, the better it looks for us. So I like it.
Yeah, them. Maybe I don't know. Would the committee do anything to Texas? Would they bump them down maybe a little bit? Would they? I guess we can get to that later on. But them maybe getting bumped down due to the struggle they have with Kansas State. I don't know. We'll see how they do with that. But like you said, there is some movement that may happen.
Kansas State was ranked number 23 though.
They were. I'm just saying, you never know what they're going to do with these types of things. Let's go with Notre Dame, Clemson. Notre Dame ends up getting upset by Clemson, 31-23. Big stats of the game. Hartman was only 13 of 30 with 146 yards, 2 picks. Klubnik was 13 of 26 for 109 yards and a touchdown, so nothing crazy from him. The real, I guess, winner here was Phil Maffa, 36 carries, some Derrick Henry sounding stuff right there. 36 carries for 186 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was the main guy of the day. Really, no receivers played a big part in this. Looks like this was just ground and pound and defensive control type game here. Even though there was some points put up. Big win for Clemson here, especially coming off of the rant by Dabo this past week to the radio caller. Did you see that? The guy that called in and asked Dabo why he was getting paid so much or whatever.
I did not see that video. No,
Yeah,
I heard.
man, you're got to look that up. You got to look that up. He just went off. You got to go look that thing up. But he went off. He was like, man, everybody's disrespecting now. He's like, after all I've done, he goes, I have nothing to prove to you. I've done this. I've come into Clemson, yada yada yada. He just went on a whole list of everything he's done and how he feels accomplished, regardless of what this dude's saying. But this is a big win.
Is he wrong?
Talking about the caller.
I'm talking about Dabo. Is Dabo wrong? I mean,
no, he's not. No, he's accomplished a lot. I mean, before he got there, Clemson was not much of a thing. So
I'm about to say it wasn't. I'm liking what Dabo has done for Clemson. Obviously, that's my problem with fans. Granted, I understand that's the world we live in. What have you done for me now? But don't get the acting stupid. Like that makes me mad. Like for instance, I know you can't live on that, but I don't. Like when I see New England fans, man, I think they need to fire Bill Belichick. Hold up. Where this talk for the past 22 years? I don't want to hear that. Don't people talking about Dabo need to leave? Like, I don't want to hear that. Like, dude, he has done really well. Clemson have always been up there amongst the top of the best. Like, okay, a few losing seasons here and there. Heck, look, if Alabama don't make it to the playoffs this year, Saban, it's about time for him to be up. No, it's not. Look, time, you're going to have your eras. You're going to have your eras. You're going to have your time. You're not going to always be at the top every year. You're not going to always be in the final running every year. And I think what Clemson has done so far has been really good. Heck, they just got a huge ranked win at home against Notre Dame. Give props to the man. Give props to Dabo. So I don't like that short-term memory sometimes for the fans. The players should be the one that have short-term memories. The coaches should be the one that have short-term memories, but the fans, they should not. They should not act that way.
No, you're right. You were right about that. So any big takeaways on this game?
No, not really. I really didn't get a chance to see it.
Yeah, I didn't pay too much attention to it. I ain't gonna lie. When I see Clemson, I'm not really watching most of the time here lately. Not trying to be rude, but Oklahoma State. Could this be the last time we see this matchup? Bedlam. It kind of sucks, man. With everything, the way conference alignment has gone, we may not see this game again, and that kind of does suck.
This conference year. It should be the automatic.
It should be this. This should stay, but God only knows if they're going to keep it or not. But people are saying this is probably the last one.
way. That's just like Georgia and Georgia Tech. How could you stop that game? That game, it should be automatic every year.
Yeah.
It should be. You're right. It's possible, but
We'll see.
it's automatic.
I think they said that toward the end of the game, they started playing. What songs did they start playing? This is the end, or some "Happy Trails to You" and "We Are Never Getting Back Together," the Taylor Swift song. They said that, so maybe it was a little hint of some stuff popping off. But God only knows. We'll see. Obviously, Oklahoma State coming in, pulling off the upset. Oklahoma, this was this. Is this the second week in a row they've been upset?
Yes, they lost to Kansas. They lost to Oklahoma State. Yes.
Yeah, man. Quite a fall from grace. Riding high from the Texas win and then dropping 2 in a row. Surely this drops you out of college football playoff play, right?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, they're official. Yeah, there's no way they can come back from this. They can win out all they want. They have to hope for some other teams to drop some games for them to get in the championship. And heck, they have to hope Kansas lose and don't win anymore. They got to hope Oklahoma State have to lose 2 for them to get in. So I just don't think Oklahoma has really a shot. Oklahoma's just had their best chance, man. When they played Texas, you would think that would have been the game for them. Everybody was predicting an Oklahoma-Texas rematch, Red River rivalry in the Big 12 championship for the final time. Nope, we will not be getting that. So it'll be interesting, man. But I think Oklahoma is done. I will say this: I do agree on the fact that they were screwed at the end of the game. That deep ball that was thrown, wide receiver to the right side of the end zone, the man literally tackled him. He was tackled straight out of the end zone, and they did not throw a flag. I think that was a horrible call. Obviously, it changed the complexion of the game. It was in the fourth quarter. I think it was the second to last drive. It was really bad. And the final score was 27-24. They could have went and scored a touchdown on that drive. So, they had to punt. That was have you seen it?
Looking at it right now. He was dragged out of bounds.
It was awful, man. That's a really bad call, man. That was a really bad call. They called they just referee didn't throw the flag. So, looking at instances like that, I feel like, Oklahoma, a lot of people were mad. Oklahoma got screwed. And, obviously there's a lot of things that led up to that. You can't depend on a game on one call. But that was a huge call, and I think Oklahoma got screwed there. But, man, props to Oklahoma State. Looks like they went out. We just talked about them earlier. They could be potentially in the Big 12 championship against Texas. So this is huge.
Yeah.
Who Oklahoma State's only loss, if you don't mind?
The losses, that's exactly what I was looking at, man. They had some really kind of wild losses to start this year. They lost to South Alabama 33-7 in the third game of the year, and Iowa State 34-27 for the fourth game of the year. So it's been quite the bounce back for Oklahoma State.
Oh, it's good bounce back.
Yeah, good bounce back.
About them potentially having a chance themselves, but they ain't got a shot.
No, that one ain't going to happen. But that it's a really good bounce back for them. At least they're kind of doing some stuff, shaking some stuff up. So last game we'll look at here: Washington versus USC. Actually, not last game because we got one more. We got to touch on Bama and LSU. But Washington versus USC, another big loss by Lincoln Riley. We talked about this in the group chat. They lost 52-42. Once again, the defense absolutely not even a thing. Washington, let's see what the numbers were for Penix on this one. So Penix ended up having 22 for 30, 256 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. They really did great rushing the ball, though. 26 carries for 256 yards and 4 touchdowns by Dylan Johnson. And if I'm not mistaken, this dude, let me look, because I remember they lost a running back right before the season started that was supposed to be their big guy. Like, he was supposed to be the main dude for them. Let's see. I can't even remember. I'll have to look later on. But I know they had a guy that he got injured before the season started. He was supposed to be their main dude, and now they have to rely on the backup. I'm wondering if this is that dude coming back or if, this is the guy that's really had to step up for them. But, man, just giving up pretty much 10 yards a carry in the Pac-12. And, we talked about it in the group chat with Jackson and Kobe, man. But this is a team that they've went out and they've actually gotten some talent on the defensive side. They went and got Bear Alexander from Georgia. They went and they pulled some talent on the defensive side of the ball. Maybe it's not the top end talent, but they've been able to bring in some stars. And it's the same old with Lincoln Riley teams. No defense, all offense. And now there's rumors of him possibly dipping to the NFL. Takeaways here, man.
Yeah, man. I saw that video of Caleb Williams, going to the stands, with his family crying. Obviously I'm very emotional and passionate about the game. But, dude, these guys are literally putting up nearly 40 to 50 points a game. And these son of a guns are losing because they can't stop nobody from scoring. It is absolutely awful. When I saw the defensive coordinator get fired today, he actually should have been fired 4 games ago. He should have been fired earlier this season. Like, USC is not doing any – heck, bro, they can't stop. They literally couldn't stop anybody, bro. Like, I can't look at a game where I'm like, oh, man. Like, if UFC wins, who did they just play that was a really bad team? And they won a game 50 to 49. Was that California?
Let's see here. I think it may have been, yes, 50-49 against Cal.
50 to 49 to Cal. You let California score 49 points?
52, 49, 34, 48, 41, 41, 28, 10, 14, and 28. So as you can see, as the year is going along, they have gotten very worse.
Who were that 10 points against?
The 10 points, that was against, let's see, that was against Stanford. Stanford was 10, Nevada was 14, San Jose State was 28, Arizona State 28. But then you had Colorado 41, Arizona 41, Notre Dame 48, Utah 34. Then you got Cal 49, and now Washington 52.
Yeah, and it's probably not going to – I mean, it's probably going to get a tad bit better, but it ain't going to get that much better. USC has no defense. I did remember something Kobe said, obviously that's a common denominator. Anywhere Lincoln Riley went, regardless of how good his offense, regardless of how many Heisman he has had really bad defense everywhere he's a head coach at. And you're right, the writing is on the wall for him to go to the NFL. Let me just worry about offense where y'all got a whole coaching staff to just worry about defense. He said, I can get paid almost the same or if not better, probably that's been offensive coordinator. Now I know you talked about how good his contract is at USC.
Yeah. So he got all these. He got like a house and all sorts of stuff in the deal. Like, it was something crazy.
So I mean, yeah, it could be far fetched, but I wouldn't be 100% against it. I could see it's 50-50. I could definitely see Lincoln Riley potentially leaving. Washington, man, hey, the writing's on the wall for them boys. They have played so many really good ranked teams. They've showed up in game after game after game. I will say that one of their lackluster game, I think it was against Arizona State when they won like 15-7. They had a little bit of a struggle, but they still got the job done. They still got I think they got 1 more or 2 more ranked teams left. But after that, then they got Oregon in the Pac-12 championship, basically. And I think that's going to be a really good game. So, I really like the matchup, man. I can't wait. I'm excited to see a rematch between Washington and Oregon.
Yeah. All right. Last one, LSU versus Alabama. This one was just a back and forth. By the end of the first half, it was tied. Both quarterbacks, it looked like we're going to rush for 200 yards. I think. Let's look at the last. I do want to. Haven't been able to take a deep dive at the stats yet, but yeah, Jaden Daniels 163 yards rushing. Jalen Milroe 155 yards rushing. It was just like a scramble fest between these two. But ultimately, Bama got the turnover, and they didn't. LSU did not. So let's see here. I'm trying to look at interceptions wise. Yes, so 1 interception by Bama. LSU did not have an interception. So they got the turnover. They were able to just pretty much impose their will toward the end of that game and just close it out. Good win for Alabama. LSU's defense, once again, just it just ain't it, man. I don't know, man. I thought it was going to be better this year. That's another thing that they've just let down a lot of people on is the defense. They have been absolutely atrocious in that facet. Offense is offense, man. They can do great in that. But defense, absolutely nothing. Alabama, good win by them at home. It looks like they're going to close this one out. I mean, all they got left is Kentucky, UTC, Auburn. They're going to make the SEC championship game out of the West. Hopefully, it'll be Georgia coming out of the East, and that's really all I have to say there. I will say this: I think I'd rather play Bama than LSU though. If I'm Georgia, I don't want to get in a shootout if I'm Georgia. I'd rather not have that, and I think that's what it would be if it's LSU. With Bama, I feel like we can have at least. I think we can. I think we can get stops on them. Now, Jaden Daniels, dude. Not saying that he's leaps and bounds above Jalen Milroe, but just the. I don't know. I was with my father-in-law. He's a big Bama fan. He's like Milroe is fast, but Jaden Daniels is just smooth the way he runs. Like he's just smooth with how he runs the ball. He passes the ball better. Obviously, Milroe does connect from time to time, and he does when he does. It's big. But those wide receivers for LSU are absolutely nuts, and they actually have a couple running backs that can make you, at least respect them. I'm not really worried. I'm not trying to give them bulletin board material or get anybody riled up by any means, but I'm not exactly afraid of any of Alabama's wide receivers, if I'm being totally honest. I mean, do I respect them to a certain degree? Yeah. I mean, Bond has been decent. Burton can have his games. That's about all I really know outside of that. I'm not really afraid of. I mean, McClellan's pretty decent. I'm not afraid of Jan Miller or Roydell Williams. Milroe, I'm afraid of his legs. And yes, Georgia has been prone to giving up, rush yards to the quarterback. So yeah, that does, that is something we have to worry about. But I think we can do enough if we do face them. So I feel good about it. What about you here?
So regarding the game in itself, I mean.
Yeah.
It went by how I expected up until the end. The guy that made the mistake is actually Jaden Daniels, which I actually thought Milroe was going to do. I thought Milroe was going to actually eventually make a mistake on some accord, and he never made that mistake. And I think he had one of his most games overall. That was one game I was able to watch from start to end. Now, to your point about LSU, which one I'm not gonna lie to you. I was on the game with Tanner and I was talking and I was like,
I mean, if I could pick any of them, I would pick Ole Miss, but I just don't think that that's not really an option.
Oh, well, Ole Miss, but I'm not gonna lie to you. I actually said I would have rather play LSU.
Oh, really? Okay.
My reasoning is because of a guy like Jaden Daniels, because of how much offense they have. They are bound to make a mistake with that many weapons. They are bound to make a mistake because of forcing the ball. Yes, he has legs. I know people keep talking about like, oh man, Jaden Daniels can scramble and we struggle against scrambling quarterbacks. Well, we're going to struggle against. I'll be honest with you. I think Alabama is the team to beat us. I think we're going to struggle with a quarterback that can make better decisions. From me watching, because I've watched a good bit of Alabama games this year, along with Georgia, but I've watched a good bit of Jalen Milroe, and I do see the improvement.
I like him. I wouldn't call him a better quarterback than Jaden Daniels, though.
I wouldn't say a better quarterback, but I'd say a better decision maker. I don't think Jalen.
I don't even think Bama fans will tell you that.
I don't know, I'm being
dead serious. I mean, you can't base it off of one game, man. And Jaden Daniels' pick, bro, was a batted ball. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not really a bad decision on his part. It was tipped.
No, but again, Jalen Milroe didn't make a mistake at all against his defense.
Let me bring it to you this way. Let's look
at the last 2 games.
Wait, hold on. Let me pose this question for you real quick.
All right.
What game last year brought us down to the wire that gave us the biggest scare we've had the whole freaking year long? What was the hardest team we faced, Torres, that we knew was going to be hard? And then not in the regular season. It was in the postseason. Who was it?
Ohio State.
Ohio State. If I'm looking at either of those and which one of those is mostly like Ohio State, it's LSU, man. They still got a good offensive line. They got a great quarterback. Or running backs can be decent. They have the Marvin Harrison Jr. type guy with Malik Neighbors. Come on, bro.
Do we forget that I actually thought Ohio State had a solid defense. So I don't know about that one. I actually made
they have a better defense than LSU, yeah.
That was the point. Like, see, that's the thing. LSU has no deep. See, I'm that confident in Georgia's offense. How the heck LSU is going to stop us? We talking about a scoring fest, I like our chances to go against LSU in the scoring fest because heck, I mean, I think our defense will eventually get a turnover, eventually get a few stops to make that stop. And basically what Alabama did to LSU is exactly what I think Georgia would have done to LSU. It would have been a high-scoring game early, and then eventually would have got later stops. With Alabama, that concerns me. I'm going to be honest with you because if Miro gets in a rhythm and we can't get stops, especially early where we struggle to start a game and they start getting out on the lead, and they start really moving that ball to get in a rhythm. I don't know, man. I'm look, it early in the season, if you would have told me that Alabama, yeah, I would have loved to play that early in the season, Alabama.
Who
But
else
now,
gets off the slow starts besides Georgia?
don't
Alabama.
tell me Alabama.
They do.
Huh?
Kobe will tell you that.
The last two
Kobe
games,
literally said it. Kobe literally said it this past week. He's like, I hate, or it was Kyle Skinner. It may have been one of those two. They're like, we always get off to a slow start. That's what they said.
the last two games they started out pretty well. Like
Tennessee, they started off pretty well.
That was Tennessee before they play LSU. It was a bye
I don't
week,
know.
right?
Let me look. Yeah, they had a bye week, but I mean, not really counting that, man. Let's see here. The last two games, it was LSU and it was Tennessee. They got off to a hot start against Tennessee. You're telling me that?
No, they did actually start slow against
No,
Tennessee.
they started off very slow in that game.
Wait a minute,
Very
wait a minute.
slow. And then LSU, I mean, technically they didn't start off. I mean, it was a back and forth affair, but I mean, yeah, the first one to strike was LSU on like a bomb.
All right. I mean, yeah, but that's not
I'm
technically.
not gonna count that. I mean, but technically if we're counting that, we're counting it just like, Missouri going up on Georgia by, that first shot to Luther Burden.
No, when you score 28 points in the first half, that's not starting slow. All right, they played Arkansas the week before, correct?
Yeah, let's look at that. Hold on, I'll tell you the quarters. It was 6-7 at the end of the first quarter, Alabama in that one.
Okay.
It's not exactly a fast start. Let's see here. Let's go to
look at how many possessions happened in that first quarter.
Let's say this. You ready to know that? You want to know the score at the end of the first quarter in A&M, Alabama?
That was early in the season. I'm talking about now.
This was literally just a few games ago, bro. Like I'm looking at the last 5 games. Last 5 games.
Huh?
Arkansas, or hang on, hold on. That was a little farther back. Hold on. Let's look at that was A&M was just 3 games ago. So you look at
Arkansas. They played A&M, then Arkansas, correct?
A&M, then Arkansas, then Tennessee, then LSU.
Okay, so
I mean, it hasn't been the quickest things. That was 3-3 at the end of the first quarter there.
Oh, definitely for
A&M.
But then go back and look at Arkansas. Look at Arkansas how they started.
7-6.
Okay, at the end of halftime, what was it?
At the end of the half, it was 21-6.
Exactly. That's starting out. That's what I'm talking about. Like they got going. They was in a rhythm.
First quarter to me is like, where you kind of start off hot, but I get what you're saying.
I mean, yeah, you can say that, but when you're dropping 28 points the first half, that's what, because Georgia, look, last game we only had 10. We only had
really
10
third quarter, I guess, is when Georgia really starts to wake up.
Exactly. Georgia start waking up in the third. Now, granted, what Alabama has done in the second half, like against LSU, they just let LSU score a single point. That defense getting going in that second half. I don't know, man. Maybe just me, but I'm not as confident going into the Alabama game this late. I have to see how we play against Ole Miss. I would like to see how we play against Tennessee. If we
Tennessee will be a better indicator for you than Ole Miss will.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
in my opinion, Ole Miss. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how you feel about that here in a second. So let's get into the Week 11 predictions. So here we go, Torres. You know how we do it. All right. So
here we go.
First game we got is the big noon game, Big Ten noon game we got here. We've got. Hold on, I've shot up a week ahead than I was supposed to. Number 3 Michigan at 9-0, traveling to Penn State. Number 11 Penn State at 8-1. Michigan is a 5.5-point favorite on the road. And I'll tell you right now, I'm going to take them to cover all 5.5 of those points. I'm not a Penn State believer, even though I know that Penn State is 8-1. I'm not drinking the Kool-Aid that Jackson and Kobe are and telling me how great Drew Alar is or whatever the guy's name is that quarterbacks for him. I know they have some talent on that team, but I don't think Michigan comes into this game sleeping. I think Michigan's actually a pretty decent team, regardless of all the extracurriculars going on with that program right now, which is pretty crazy to look into, by the way, if you haven't been paying attention. Um, but I think Michigan comes in and handles business. Penn State's just not one of those programs I trust. We talked about it, you and I, with Kobe and Jackson. Them and Notre Dame are like the frauds of the college football to me. Like every year we hear about this pedigree they got and everything like that, but then it ends up being something that um ends up not playing out too well. They don't end up sticking up and standing to their ranking like people put them at. So I'll take Michigan to cover those 5.5. I'll take them to win that game outright. What do you say?
I'll take Michigan as well. I'm going to actually go on the other end. I'm going to say the game is close.
Okay.
I do think Penn State keeps this game close. I do think Michigan is a better team, but I do think Penn State keeps this game close. I was a little bit surprised at how well they was able to keep the game close with Ohio State. But I do think Michigan is a much better team, and I'm going to go with my. I like Michigan in this one. I'm gonna be honest with you. The way Ohio State has looked, I am going with Michigan to go ahead and win out that Big Ten. To be honest with you, I think they. As crazy as it sounds, never thought I'd say this, but I think Michigan's about to beat these boys 3 years in a row.
It could happen. It very well could happen. Let's shoot it over. I mean, I don't think we have to touch on some of these. Like I'm looking at Alabama, Kentucky.
No,
I don't
yeah.
think that's worth even talking about. Texas Tech, Kansas. Tulsa, Tulane, Baylor, Kansas State. But now we're looking at this is one I want to bring up just to see where we're at. Miami, unranked 6-3 Miami, the same Miami that got beat by Georgia Tech in the closing seconds of their game, going against number 4 Florida State, undefeated at 9-0 in Tallahassee. Florida State are 15-point favorites in this game. And I don't think they're that good. I like Florida State. I don't think they're 15-point good against Miami. I think Miami makes this game close. I wouldn't take Miami to win it outright, but I will gladly take Miami with 15 points. I'll tell you that much. And I don't care how crappy. I mean, let's look at how Miami's been playing. Let's see here. Cristobal obviously hasn't been the season he's wanted it to be. They are coming off of a pretty bad loss against NC State that I did not notice. They lost to NC State 20-6. So that was pretty ugly. Tyler Van Dyke, 173 yards passing with 3 interceptions. It was pretty ugly, man.
Do they have injuries? That's the only way that 15 points.
Van Dyke is playing. Jacoby George was playing. Xavier Restrepo was playing. I don't know the guy. I mean, I'll have to look into this, but I don't
know, man. Losing 20-6 to North Carolina State is rough. Then you go on the road to Bobby, to the stadium, Florida State Stadium. Bobby Downs, dude. Not a chance. I ain't gonna lie to you. At first, I was like, okay, but then you say that, it got me thinking. I might have to take FSU and the points because
to cover those.
I think they lost to North Carolina State 20-6. I don't see. Woo.
I'm gonna go with Miami with the points. I'll take Miami with 15 points.
I'm gonna go FSU to cover.
If it was less than 14, I probably wouldn't take it. 15, I will. I'll take them. I think you have to show up for this game if you're Mario Cristobal. You have to get these boys somehow, some way. I would say this is one you got to watch for Florida State. I think this is they've steadily been having these games where, and Keon Coleman didn't play this past week against Pitt. If he don't play, this could be something to watch, man. They will get up to. I think they need to be on upset watch. I really do. I think they need to be on upset watch.
I'm gonna say this. You brought it up last show, potentially about Louisville. Now, Louisville, what they're ranked? They were ranked like number 13, 14?
At that time or now?
Now.
Let's see here. At right now, and this is just the AP poll. Louisville's number 11 in the AP poll.
They're number 11.
Yeah.
Okay, so a Louisville team that wins out, one loss, ACC champ potentially. We'll get to it eventually, but at first I was like, Louisville, no, not a chance. But a Louisville team that can win out, and then play an undefeated FSU team, man. That could play some
It
dividends.
could be something. Yeah, it could
It
be
could
something. So yeah, I'll take them with the points there. I'll take Miami with the points. All
be.
right. So here's the next one. All right, we got let's see here. Hold on, I'm gonna give you the rankings where we got them right now. We got number 18 Utah at 7-2, traveling to Washington. That's number 5 Washington at 9-0. Washington is a 9-point favorite here. Utah's last game. Let's look at their last game here, just to be cautious. They won 55-3 against Arizona, and the game before that they lost 35-6 against Oregon. I'm pretty sure they still don't have the freaking quarterback back for them, Cameron Rising.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna take Washington here. I got to play it safe. Part of me wants to take Utah with the points. Um, just because of their defensive attributes. They are
What's
at
the
home. Washington is
what's the
it's a 9. Washington favored by 9. I'll take Washington to cover the 9 points. They're
Me
at
too.
home. They're at
But
home.
yeah, man, Washington got the offense to do it, man. Utah do got a solid defense, but I ain't gonna lie to you. After seeing what Oregon did to Utah, and I think Washington, I do think I'm gonna be honest with you now. I know Washington beat them, but I still do believe Oregon is the better team. I'm not gonna lie to you, I do.
Yeah, I
But
think a lot of people feel that way.
I do think Washington can simulate a little bit what they did. I don't think Washington gonna have the defense. I do think Utah puts up a few more points than what they did against Oregon, but I do think Washington still cover and put up a few more points than what Oregon possibly did.
Yeah. All right. That'll lead us to Tennessee traveling to Missouri. Missouri coming off the loss to Georgia. Both teams are 7-2. Obviously, right now Tennessee is 17. Missouri is 12. We'll see what the college football playoff rankings put them at here. That's going to be a 3:30 game on CBS. Tennessee is a 1-point favorite they are an away favorite in this one, and I think that's a big mistake. Missouri coming off this loss to Georgia. There's two ways you can go about this. It's either going to be a team defeated that their college football playoff hopes are crushed, SEC championship game hopes are crushed, and is this season worth anything? Or it's going to be let's rally behind this. Let's finish this thing off as strong as we started it. Let's do good with what we have left. It all depends on how they come out motivated, and if the coaching staff can get them to do that. Tennessee on the road though at Missouri. Tennessee is a run heavy team this year. They're not so much a great passing team. Missouri showed that they can win in the trenches, and I think if you can win in the trenches against Georgia, you can definitely win in the trenches against Tennessee. I'll take Missouri to win outright. I'll take them with the point. I don't really care. I don't think this game is as close as this line is being made out to be. Now, Tennessee, I guess the one thing they have going for them here is because let's see, their 2 losses are to Florida and who was the other one? Can you remind me?
Alabama, Alabama.
Alabama. So that's 2 SEC losses. Yeah, I still don't see it. Like honestly, if Ole Miss and Georgia played before them and they were keeping track of it and they were like, okay, if Georgia loses this, we really, really, really need to come out and try. Like, I would give them that extra fire to try. You know what I'm saying? Because if they potentially came out, won this game, and Georgia lost to Ole Miss, and then they beat Georgia at Neyland,
That being good.
all of a sudden, I think that spark would be going on. But now that you don't know, I don't know if that fire is going to be there. I'll take Missouri to win it, man. I feel good about them. I've liked them. I've liked them since this year has been
Yeah.
going. I'll take Missouri to win this one. Go ahead.
I mean, Missouri's haven't been having one of the hottest seasons, out of anybody out of SEC East, along from Georgia, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think they keep that number 2 mantle. I think they staple it actually. I think they staple it with this game and solidify that they're the second best team in SEC East for this season. I do think they beat Tennessee, and I do think they handle them. I wouldn't say decisively. I think there's holes that Tennessee can exploit, but I do think Missouri will still be able to find a way and get the job done.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll win that one. All right, 2 more games here. We got USC versus Oregon. Okay. And let's see here. That is no longer ranked USC. I mean, they were ranked at that time. I mean, hold on. I thought they dropped out.
Well, we got to see what happened in the college football playoff. They could potentially.
That's right. But according to the AP, they're not ranked.
As understand as they shouldn't be. You know, that's
Actually, hang on. Yeah. I've been reading off the wrong rankings, but the AP, yeah, they're no longer ranked. And that's going against, let's see here. They're going against Oregon, and let's see what Oregon's ranked at in the AP right now. Because AP can tell you a little bit. AP, they have them at 6. So
yeah.
number 6, Oregon, hosting unranked USC. USC actually firing their defensive coordinator today, Grinch.
Not gonna
Right
help.
now, yeah. Let's look at this. Let's look at the freaking spread. That's what I want to see here.
It's not gonna help them, man. Oregon's gonna win this.
Yeah, it's Oregon's 14.5 point favorites. I think they run away with it. I think it's way
What
worse.
are they are? What are they?
14.5.
Oh, 14.
I'll still take them to cover that.
USC can still score. I think USC can score on any team. Don't get me wrong. I do think USC can score on any team, but they can't stop nobody. And I think Oregon got a good enough defense to keep Caleb Williams a little bit contained. So I'm taking Oregon, and I'd say give me Oregon and the points.
I think, yeah, about to say, I think Landon wants to kill them, and I think they will kill them. So they smell blood in the water. I think he'll motivate them boys. I like Landing. I like Oregon. They're one of those other teams I kind of root for. All right, lastly, Ole Miss versus UGA, and right now, as it stands, Ole Miss in the AP is number 10. Georgia's number 1. Obviously, we know that's not that way. It's not the case in the college football playoff rankings. Georgia is an 11.5 point favorite at home, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Take us away here, Torres. I'll let you start this one off. Let's see what you got here.
I got Georgia. I think they come out. I do think this game will be close pretty early. I can see this game being close going into the fourth quarter. I'm not going to sleep on Ole Miss. But what I will say is these are those type of games. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't say that I didn't think Georgia stepped up against Missouri. Don't think that, because I do believe Georgia stepped up against Missouri. I think they played a really good game overall. But these are one of these games, very similar to what you saw against Kentucky. Now, I don't think Ole Miss is obviously on the level of Kentucky, but I do think UGA stepped their game up, and I do think, quote me on this, I could be completely left south, but I think this might be one of the best games Carson Beck plays overall as a quarterback. Oh, yeah. I think this is one of those type of days, and give me UGA in the cover. I actually think they handle business in this one. I really do. And I think I don't care about the number 1 spot because it doesn't matter as long as we went out. But I think we take the number 1 spot after our performance in this game.
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking, obviously, like you, I think Carson Beck can come out and sling it on this Ole Miss defense. I don't really respect that Ole Miss defense at all. I think we'll be able to put up points, and I think we'll be able to come up with stops when we need to. I think we end up covering against them. I think we cover the points, 11.5 points. I think this will be a statement game. It's a night game in Athens, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Yeah, I like this thing. We could see Bowers back. That'll amp it up even more. We could see Mims back. That'll amp it up even more. These young bucks getting some run. I think this will make this game right here will help us out. It'll make us better in the long run too. I think we'll learn some things in this about defending the pass, especially with these young guys getting more reps. And I think this will be a good win for us. And I don't know. We'll see if we end up bumping to number 1. I think, yeah, you know what? If they win the way in the fashion that I think they do, I think you could be right then that they jump to number 1. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good game for us. I'll predict that. I like where your head's at on that one as well. All right, so last thing we're going to do here, see if the college football playoff predictions for this Tuesday. So coming up Tuesday, we saw what happened last week in the college football playoff rankings. It was 1 Ohio State, 2 Georgia, 3 Michigan, 4 Florida State, 5 Washington, 6 Oregon. Do you see any change in that order?
No, I do not. I don't think anybody done anything to make themselves go up. Be honest with you, I wasn't impressed by Ohio State win over Rutgers.
Yeah.
They struggled a good bit in that game. Mm-hmm. They just moved them down to number 2, but if not, then it stays the same. I know some people think Alabama could get a push, but with Texas being right there, man, I just don't think unless Texas loses another game, there should be no God-given way that Texas ever gets jumped by Alabama. I don't even care if they beat Georgia in the SEC championship game because Texas has done what they have needed to do, and I just don't think they should ever be jumped if they never lose. So.
Yeah. And they're winning with a backup quarterback right now. That's needed to be said. I mean, they're winning with the guy that that's not their main man. Obviously, we know who the main guy is with Quinn Ewers, but they're winning without him, and they're pulling out games, especially against a ranked opponent like Kansas State.
When will he be back? When will Quinn Ewers be back?
Let's take a look. Let's see if I can find out the timeline on it. I think he can be back before the season starts. Injury timeline. Let's see what we got on this. So, injury update heading into the TCU game. What's the status of him? He's missed the last 2 games with an AC joint sprain on his right throwing shoulder in their Week 8 win against Houston. Hopefully we get Quinn back, but in the meantime, we'll continue to pour into things that Malik continues to do well. I don't know. This might be one of those things they don't really let us know. Apparently, he's through in practice on Thursday, and there's optimism that he could return next weekend in TCU. So he could be back as soon as this weekend.
Okay.
Yeah. So he'll be back before season's end. And like we said, we've already listed out their last 3 games. They might could even live without him for another week or 2, and then get him back in, get him warmed up and ready to go for the Big 12 Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. I do think if Texas can handle enough business until he gets back at least get him back for the last game of the season to, just let him, play a little bit, and then get him back for the Big 12 championship. But right now, I see everybody being able to handle business, as long as Oregon make sure they handle their business. And Washington, I think we're going to have a lot of last game of the year, big championship games, obviously, but potentially between Georgia and Alabama, Oregon and Washington, Texas and Oklahoma State. It's going to be a lot of good championship weekends that's going to have a lot of effects on the playoff edition and rivalry week. So I'm ready, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to get down to the nitty gritty.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, any last things here you want to highlight before we end the show today?
Not today.
All right. Well, guys, thank you out there for if you tuned into the live stream. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this late, we appreciate you watching it late as well. If you're out there listening to our podcast version of this, we're out there on Apple, Spotify, any podcast platform out there. Really, if you want to help us out, just go ahead and click in the link tree or click in the description, go to the Linktree link, and you can support us many different ways. Give us a follow on all the social media platforms if you're out there. And like always, hey, we really appreciate you guys listening in. And as always, we'll see you again next time.
Boom, boom.